Welcome, and we're back for another episode of Inside the Message. Yeah, I don't know why we're so tickled about that. It's funny, isn't it?
Anything that makes me giggle and laugh is a good thing.
That's true.
What I think.
That's true. That's true.
So,
well, Inside the Message, Brother T, Reverend René, and we're just going to dive right in. So your message last Sunday was awesome. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
So I've got a few questions.
Okay.
So, to interview you with, right? And I'm having fun with just doing the clips.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you guys ready? Here's our first clip.
Another word for trusting desire is to trust love. You see, desire is an energy that arises within us, and it's a strong feeling, a wishing for something to happen. And as we trust that, inevitably that which we desire ends up becoming our experience and the adventures of our lives.
Okay, we're back. And so here's my question. You talk about love and desire, right? And so how are they different, and are they different?
Right. And I think that's a really good question. And I did say to trust desire is to trust love. Did I not?
You did.
In that clip, right? And so I think that the distinction that I do believe that there is a distinction. And the distinction that I would make is that desire is an attribute, is a side effect, is an emotion or feeling tone that is connected with love. And that as we follow desire from the conditioned desires of the world to, as we go deeper and deeper and we keep asking, what do we want? What do we desire? We get to the depth of the desire, of the love of our heart. So we're following love. We're following what brings us joy. We're following what we think that we want and desire. And as we trust that as we continue to do it, it carries us to the heart and mind of God, the heart and mind of love.
Okay.
And so that's how I would answer that.
Okay.
I think that love is all-encompassing, and love is never really co-opted by the ego. We can mistake things for what true love is, what holy relationship is, what, in A Course in Miracles, it does talk about special love, special hate, right? And that's not what we're talking about here. But the desire, initially, the surface level desires can be on that plane. And that's why we tend not to trust it. We tend not to trust it because we think that it will get co-opted by the ego.
Right.
And if we trust it and keep following it, we don't necessarily need to act upon it. But if we just notice it and experience it and keep asking the question, it becomes clarified. It becomes pure and does lead us to.
Okay. So there is we could say there are desires of the ego self, which is a false thought system.
Right.
Right. And because we're talking about two thought systems all the time. And then there's a thought system of love, or the thought system of God, if you will. And so that thought system is what we're talking about here, is getting to allowing the desires of that self, that loving self, the higher self, to be revealed.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. All right. So I have another question.
Okay.
Are you ready? We'll play a little clip.
Okay.
And kind of set this up.
Okay, great.
You see, nothing happens in our experience of life without the energy of desire. We aren't in this situation right now compelled to be together, but for the desire to do so. And that desire arose within you and arose within me. And here we are having this collective experience together.
All right, we're back. So here's the question. What about things that we call bad things,
Mm-hmm.
bad desires, are those expressions of love?
What do you mean, like bad desires? Like to attack somebody or
Is that a desire
to,
for revenge or
right,
vengeance
right.
or
Yeah,
grievances? Or
yeah.
those are desires on some level, right?
It's definitely an energy, and it's definitely can feel like a desire. So the reason why we practice following the thread of desire is because underneath and beneath what you're calling bad desires, or desires that I've said might be hijacked by the ego, hijacked by the mind of fear, the thought system of fear, underneath that is a call for love.
Mm.
Underneath that is a cry for love within.
Mm.
And so when we keep asking the question, we end up getting to the deeper level of the true desire, which is love itself. And so the desire for revenge, for instance, might be, um, I just want to get back at somebody for something. I want them to know, what do I really want? I want them to know how much I hurt. What do I really want? I want them to know that that I need their love and attention in some way, and in some way it was lacking, and so I felt hurt. What do I really want? What would I really love? I would really love for us to have a conversation and to connect. What would I really love? I would love for them to hear me and to understand how I feel.
So maybe
So when you keep
asking questions, you keep digging, going down,
right,
below the top level motivations or
yes,
whatever you call them.
yeah,
Then you get to the reasons for
yeah,
something, right?
yeah,
It's okay. So it's a reason. I have a desire for wholeness, or have a desire for connectedness,
right,
or desire for this sense of not being lost or
right,
alone or lack.
right. And in our fearfulness, we don't know how to get that need met.
Yeah,
And
in our
so
separateness.
we might seek it in a way that seems like
Right.
a bad desire.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes we act out in ways that appear to be, and do have the result of driving a wedge between us and other people,
Absolutely.
which is not the result we're really looking for
No.
necessarily. What we are looking for
No.
is union in relationship
And understanding.
and understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. That
All
makes
right.
sense. I like that one.
All right. Me too. Thank
Okay.
you.
So here's another clip, and I got another question. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
What happened between being a child and the adventures in the woods and near the creek, and perhaps our adult experience, is a conditioning. And in this conditioning, which looks like school and sometimes looks like religions or looks like parental fears of limitation, these ideas become embedded into our belief system, and we begin to fear our desires. Because the desire of our heart, I don't know about you, but the desires of my heart have often flown in the face of the desires of the world, or the constructs that the world would have expected of me. And if I feel my desire, if I allow the desires of my heart, it's going to carry me down a pathway that is evil or wrong, or will not comply with the world.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're back. So in that clip, you're really speaking about conditioning. And we addressed, the evil or wrong or bad thing a little bit in our last conversation. But how do we transcend conditioning? Because you're talking about conditioning of the world. How do we transcend conditioning of the world?
Yes, exactly what the whole message is about, which is to follow that thread of desire. So we allow and follow the thread of desires that bubble up within our awareness. And we begin to keep asking, what do I love? What would I really want? And we begin to get to, on the surface level, so we've talked about the surface level already. On the surface level, what we'll often find are the conditioned responses. So an example might be, we think that we want a new car. And because of advertising and because of how our society might place a value on a certain make and model of a vehicle, we might think, oh, I want a car. I want a Mercedes Benz, or I want a Tesla, or whatever it might be.
Lamborghini.
A Lamborghini, right? Right? We might say that, but is that what we really want? Like, perhaps as we keep asking that question, we might learn that really we want a GeoPro because we want to travel around, the country. And a Lamborghini would be really flashy and cool.
You can't pull a GeoPro with it.
But you can't, right. And so you keep asking the question, and as you continue to ask the question, you get to the unconditioned response, the response independent of what is believed to be the quote unquote right response. I have an example of this in my life. So there was a period in my life when I was in sales and I was successful and I loved what I did, but I didn't feel completely fulfilled. And I noticed that people liked to talk to me and they would share with me, kind of like deep, dark, secrets, and had nothing to do with the product that I was selling. And that I was a good listener. I was somebody that people felt comfortable sharing with. And it led me, as I investigated that, I thought, I really want to work with people. I really want to work with individuals. I think I want to be a psychiatrist or a therapist. And I kept asking the question. It was like that was in the right direction, but that's what my family would have approved of. That's what the world would have approved of. And as I kept asking the question, what I ended up really desiring, really wanting, was to be a spiritual practitioner, to be a spiritual counselor. And that was an unconventional thing at that time. And how would I make a living doing that? All of those things, but it led me down the pathway of what I do today. And, having the courage to keep asking myself, the higher self, until I get beyond the conditioned responses and deeper, like we can think of those as like the surface of the ocean, and then we keep asking and we go deeper and deeper and deeper, as in the message, to the depth of the ocean where all the power and the presence of the all that is. And that's where, we keep asking until we get to that depth, the unconditioned response.
Okay, so it's almost the same answer in all cases.
Yes.
So far, is that we're
I forgot
we're
what
going
your
down.
question was.
How do we transcend the conditioning?
Okay, yeah.
Is that we, how do we get beyond that? Is to move beyond the first and second, and third level motivations.
Right.
And keep digging deeper. So we keep asking why do I want this?
Right.
So that we can begin to really understand for ourselves, what is that motivator that's really driving us or pulling us to decisions.
A super simple, that's perfect. And a super simple, another example is, I mentioned in the message that we don't even get up off the sofa to go to the refrigerator unless we have a desire. And like some of those desires we might like, oh my gosh, I want ice cream. And we might judge that. And we can say, but what do I really want? Well, ice cream reminds me of home, and home reminds me of comfort. What I really want instead of that bowl of ice cream, which would be fine in and of itself. And if I chose to have it, I would enjoy it. But if I'm doing that every day, that might not be a healthy way to get what I really want, which is that comfort and love.
So the desire is comfort. The conditioning would be guilt, that the world's saying that's bad. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah. And so that we kind of guilt ourselves out to keep ourselves from doing things. And it's a
which it then attracts us to that even more.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a drug.
Yeah,
That
because
fear
we're
and
getting
guilt.
away
Yeah.
with something or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Well, right now I have a desire
What's that?
to play another clip.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because I've got another question for you.
Okay.
All right?
Wonderful.
All right, you ready? Here we
I
go.
am.
Here we go.
You gonna do it? Awesome.
And what we begin to see that as we continue to ask the question, as we continue to be willing to look at the desires that arise within us, we begin to cultivate a trust of ourselves. We begin to trust love because desire is just love. And what we begin to see is that underneath the surface level desires are deeper desires that are connected with spirit and answer the question, what am I here to be and do?
We're back. So, is this an easy way to discover what we're here to be and do?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Eventually, if we do this practice, as we do this practice and we keep asking, we're guided and led. And we're guided and led in perfect ways to utilize the gifts that we have, the talents that we have, the desires of our heart that we seek to express. And the desire is the kind of like the Hansel and Gretel little breadcrumbs that actually lead us home.
Lead us home.
And in that, the way of mastery says that as we do this, it leads us to the face to face with God. And truly it's face to face with our self, our capital S self, our true self. And the whole concept of this practice is to learn to trust ourselves. You see, we go through our lives questioning ourselves every step of the way, especially when we're looking to the world for approval or conditions for permission. And what ends up happening as we continue this process is that we develop a faith and a trust in our own heart. In our own heart, we can trust. And in that trust, we trust God. We trust love. And it does lead us to what we're here to be and do. And what we're here to be and do is love. And we all have this different way of extending and expressing it, which extending and expressing it is just another way of saying another way of saying to share it. And when we share it, when we give it, unlike the rules of the world, it increases. It increases. And so it benefits all of those around us. It benefits us. And this is the way that we find a world that works for everyone, where every person is in their right and perfect place, their right and perfect expression in this experience.
So it's almost like giving and receiving are one.
Giving and receiving are one. And so following this thread of desire is a pathway to really learn to trust ourselves, learn to love ourselves, and learn to love our brothers and sisters by sharing the love that we are.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great talk, and
Thank
it was just filled with so much rich teaching. Yeah, I loved it.
Well, thank you. And I have to, you and I have been studying this material for years, and we've studied it with so many different groups of people. We've seen it transform lives.
It does indeed.
And this is the first key to the kingdom. We've got 3 more that we'll be discussing over the next
touch on those.
several weeks.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is that this is inspired by Jesus, by Joshua ben Joseph and the way of mastery.
Right. It's a channeled work.
Yes. And it's supported by A Course in Miracles, and it's supported by the truth teachings of True Thought, as well as the truth as it appears as principle in all the New Thought teachings.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so,
Yeah. It's immutable.
yes, truth is true always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome.
This was fun.
It was fun. We hope you guys will join us
Yeah.
for a conversation, our Zoom session, our Zoom.
It's coming up
room.
here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Later this evening, or in the next few minutes, as it were. And we'll see you there.
We
So
love
God bless
you.
you. We love you.
Thank
and,
you.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on the inspirational message.
And thanks,
on
Brother
Sunday as
T,
well.
for being an amazing interviewer and host, and as well as producer of this video. Thank you. You do amazing
Oh, it's my
work.
pleasure. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you.
And we love you too.
Love you.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.